Hello and welcome to the 1000 Comics Podcast. It's your host, Matt Heath. How you doing, folks? I am here at the Stoned House Productions Studios, and me and the Compton brothers are working on some comedy footage right now. We're working on my comedy special, but we're working on footage overall from the night of my comedy special. And we're working on Ray Robinson's footage right now, and I just thought I'd mention it because that's where I'm at. I'm using their mic, I'm using their setup to record my podcast. Just happen to have my laptop over here. We're doing, we're working comics. They're in the other room making cuts to some 4-camera setup stuff, and I'm sitting here pushing out this podcast. I got a great guest for you today. It is Philip Anthony, great comic, great guy. A few months back, he was making all these positive posts on the Comedy Outsider page that I run, and people were kind of like talking down to him, and I didn't really appreciate that, so I had him on the show. And Philip Anthony was a great guest because he pretty much takes his whole business model in comedy and presents it to you, the listener, so you can kind of like get a whole idea how to make it in comedy. Not a lot of guys are willing to do that and present that kind of information on the show, but we talk business. It was a good episode. I really enjoyed this one. And funny enough, after I had him on the show, maybe a few weeks later, I was in a comedy competition. Now, I thought it was just a showcase, but it was a competition, and Philip Anthony was one of the judges of the competition, and he gave me a great review you could actually watch that right here on the YouTube page. It's the Coach Bentley. I do that character, and you can hear Philip Anthony's voice, saying how much he enjoyed that set and enjoyed that character. But before that, let's just get a little ad read in here. You've probably heard a lot about cannabidiol, or CBD, but have you heard about the plant science company taking the lead in providing the highest quality CBD nationwide? At your CBD store, Simsbury, you will find a fantastic staff that creates a comfortable environment where you can get the questions answered and find the right products and get the relief you need. They will be your number one source of providing quality education about the products for you and your pet. That's right, your pet. If your pet likes CBD, get it there. Over here at Stoned House Productions, they got a lot of pets. I get cat hair all over me. And I don't know if them cats take CBD, but maybe they should start. I don't know. They offer a full line of edibles, creams, USDA-certified oils, and more, all developed under their guidance of their PhD analytical chemists and health leaders across the industry. And to back up their story, they also provide extensive third-party testing to ensure what's listed on the products is actually in the products. They are located at 1243 Hot Meadow Street, Simsbury, and open 7 days a week. Give them a call at 860-217-1433. Visit their website at ycbdsimsbury.com or stop in for free samples and find the highest quality products you can find. Your CBD store, Simsbury, where good health hits home. Hey, and if you want to, be a sponsor for 1000 Comics yourself, you could always shoot a few bucks over the Venmo at Thank You Masked Man. So, because we're making great content over here at 1000 Comics and Stoned House Productions. We're working on we're bringing 3 dimensions to this, guys. We got 4-camera setups. We got cartoon shows coming out. We're doing big things, folks. So, but first, please enjoy this interview I did with Philip Anthony. It's great. You're going to love it.
She's a Dunkin'.
So you got Dunkin' Donuts right next to your house,
I
huh?
walk there, like, I just like walk. It's like, so there's a house across the street, literally the backyard of that house.
Nice.
So I just.
All right, well, we're already recording, just so you know. I
Great.
just hit the button,
You
so
gotta fucking warn me.
yeah. Well, you know, I feel like we were already getting right into it. We're talking about Dunkin' Donuts and
me in the
whatnot.
back of your laptop with an apple. That's fucking interesting.
Obviously, well, not obviously because you can't see him. I'm sitting here today with my guest Philip Anthony.
What's up? What's up?
How you doing? Welcome to the 1000 Comics Podcast here, man.
Glad to be here.
This is it. This is the Connecticut spot for.
This is the hub.
I would say so.
This is the hub.
This is the hub.
All
this
right.
is the hub. Although you're a Massachusetts guy.
Yes.
Have you been throughout your whole career?
No. I'm originally from New York.
Okay.
So I'm a transplant. I moved to Mass in 2008.
Oh wait.
So I lived most of my adult life. I left New York when I was 35.
Really?
Yeah.
So where in New York you from?
The Bronx.
The Bronx.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where I'm from most of my life. Of course, I spent some time in Brooklyn, a little bit of time in Manhattan, Queens. Never Staten Island, because Staten Island doesn't count. And
why even bring it up?
Because people ask.
Well, you know why people ask these days is because Saturday Night Live now, the biggest guys on it are from Staten Island. You got Colin Jost and you got Pete Davidson, where it's like Staten Island's kind of taking over 30 Rockefeller Center.
Every now and then, one of them sneaks out.
Yeah, and then the Impractical Jokers, one of those dudes is from Staten Island too. So people are like, comedian? You must be from Staten Island. You're like, what?
Staten Island is so far, like.
Yeah.
Even if you live in Brooklyn, which is probably the closest borough to it, it can still take you an hour to get to Staten Island.
Well, it's kind of like being from Connecticut and going to Block Island over there. And
I don't even know what Block Island is.
Block Island's just a little island that's like covered in bars. I've never been there, but it's like a place where people just go out to like have a good time.
Oh, those kind of bars. Okay, we got one like that in the Bronx called Rikers Island.
Oh, right.
People go there behind bars. That's.
Yeah.
It's a prison.
Oh wait, what am I talking about? Oh my! I almost thought you were talking about that prison being a party island for a second there. But you know what? Something about Staten Island. I've always wanted to go to a Staten Island Yankee game. I don't know what it is. I'm a Yankees fan, so
Staten Island what?
There's a farm team over on Staten Island called the Staten Island Yankees.
That sounds insulting. That's hard. I'm from the Bronx. I play handball at the back of Yankee Stadium growing up. There's no Yankees in Staten Island. Not any real Yankees.
No, well, that's not even the Yankees farm team, I don't think.
I'm positive it is.
The Colorado Rockies, I believe.
That makes sense.
Yeah. You're a Yankee fan?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big sports fan, but my home teams are my home teams. Yankees, Giants.
Yeah. So you grew up in New York. Mm-hmm. When did you start doing comedy?
There's two parts to that story. So I actually, I want to say about 17 years ago, I was working at the Circuit City on 86th Street, and I've always loved comedy. That was my go-to. I mean, that's right around the corner from Comic Strip Live. I would go there every weekend.
That's actually one of my favorite clubs in New York. Mike Jacobs used to get me on the shows in there.
Yeah, rest in peace, Mike. Yeah, he put me on to one of my first shows in New York too.
Yeah.
So I worked right around the corner from there. I used to go. That was my date spot. I would go there all the time. Loved the open mics, everything. And then one day I'm working at Circuit City, and these two guys come in. They're looking to buy a laptop.
That's my neighbor just smoking weed, probably.
Oh, okay.
we share a deck out there, and as you can see, the doors open.
So the guys, I'm just being myself, helping them. I'm trying to make some money selling computers, and one of them's like, "Hey, you're pretty fucking funny.
Right.
You should do comedy." And I was like, "Yeah, I'd love to do comedy. I love comedy." And he said, "Well, we're both comedians." They were looking for a computer to buy, so they could start writing some screenplays or something like that. And I was like, "Oh, really?" He's like, "Yeah." So he gives me his number. He's like, "Call me this weekend. Just come on, check out a show so you can see how, comedy works. You can see a show." I was like, "Cool." I went that weekend. I drove to Brooklyn, damn near Staten Island, right? And I walk in and it's an all black room. People know it now, still around, called Footprints. The comedian was Freddie Ricks, the veteran New York comic. He's been in quite a few new movies and all those like all those comedy what was it, BT Comic View, all those whatever. So he's on stage destroying.
Okay.
He's absolutely he's hosting. He's destroying. I'm just in tears laughing. I walk in. I'm like the last one. Everybody's sitting down, so I didn't sit down yet. And he's like, "All right, you guys want to get this show going? I'm gonna bring up this first comedian. I met this kid at Circuit City." and I'm looking around like I must have coworkers in this fucking club because I didn't come here. I never written a joke in my life.
Right.
I'm like, I just came here to watch. He's like, "Get on up here," and I'm like, "What the fuck am I gonna say?" So I walk up, and you can tell I'm not a very tall guy. Freddie Ricks is about your height. He's a little taller maybe. And the DJ, being the DJ that he is, he's playing 50 Cent in the club. So I'm walking up to Go Shorty, it's your birthday. Right? And it literally was. I'm fucking short and this is my birthday.
I like how every part of the story speaks to the times. The song, the Circuit City.
Yeah, it was that time. And
the compact computer you were selling.
It was compact too, yeah. You remember. So I get on the fucking, I get up to the mic, and the mic, he didn't bring it down, and I'm looking up at the fucking mic. I shuffle with it, I put it off, and I was like, turn that shit off. I'm like, fuck you, Freddie. You introduced me to come up here. You could have fucking put the mic down. And DJ, fuck you too. You a comedian? What's up with the Go Shorty shit? And just with that opening line, everyone was already laughing. Yeah. So I got that rush, and I'm like, okay, cool. Now what the fuck am I going to talk about? And I swear, it had to be 3 minutes. I just talked about a relationship that I just got out of.
Yeah.
And the premise was pretty much simple. And it was all true story. I didn't have to write anything because it actually happened. We broke up. I did the whole machismo shit. Look, just get the fuck out. Take everything. I don't give a shit. And then when I came home from work, I realized the first time in our 5-year relationship that she ever fucking listened to me because she took everything. Like, there was nothing in my house. So I just went off that. I was like, yo, she left me nothing. I said, I felt good for 1 second. When I went to the kitchen, I saw she left me 1 cup, 1 plate, and 1 spoon.
Really?
And for a second, I thought...
That's all true.
Right, yeah. And I said,
that's amazing.
For a second, I thought, yeah, see, this bitch still cares for me. You know what I mean? She want to make sure I can eat. And then I remember the crazy bitch that she was, and I was like, oh, no, she wants me to eat alone.
Yeah.
Alone. She just reminded me that I'm alone. Like, that's it. And I was like, she's a fucking genius. So I just went with that, and some little more stuff that I added after that I just embellished. And
so basically, when you were working at Circuit City, I'm sure the way you would talk to customers, it almost sound like a stand-up act, basically.
Yeah, I was just myself. When I talk to people, I just like to joke around. I just like to, bring the lighter side of everything. Even when I describe stuff. I remember one time, a lady came. No, it was a older man with his friend. They came in and they were looking for the most expensive computer in the world.
Right.
He's like, I don't care. And I'm like, well, what do you need it for? And he says, well, I forgot what country he came from. He's like, we just came back home from my daughter's wedding overseas. I got the DVD, and I can't play it in any, DVD player. It doesn't play.
Oh, I got you.
And I was like, okay, so you just want this so you can play that DVD? He's like, yes, that's all I need.
What you really needed was a DVD player, like
I said, you know what? I got a DVD player to play it.
Yeah.
And he goes, no, I tried all the best DVD players. I said, that's your problem. You're trying the best ones. You got to get the little pieces of shit. We got a $29.95 DVD player. He's like, it's not going to play it. I'm like, can I try it? Just humor me. And I put it in, and it started to play. The dude literally broke out in tears.
Yeah, really.
And I was like, the difference is that, when you got the Sonys and the Samsungs, all these bigger brands, they have licensing restrictions. Now, when you got this little shit here that doesn't have any licensing, you could put a sandwich in there. It's going to tell you what the fuck is on the sandwich. And he started laughing. He was like, I want the whole stack. He bought one for all his family.
Really?
He bought at least 20 of those. I didn't get any commission because you don't get commission on that shit, but it was about, I could have sold him a $3,000 computer.
Yeah, but it was just the know-how.
I was like, you don't need that. I know what you need. This is what you need. that's just the person I always had that personality with people. So
Yeah, I hear you. I was a pawnbroker for years, so I totally know like those like kind of like niche moments. I don't know. For some reason, you telling that story just reminded me of this time. This old guy came in and he wanted to. He couldn't get his DVD player to work with his TV. I basically had to show him how to. He didn't want to buy anything. He just wanted to know how to work his DVD player. So I hooked up the DVD player to the TV, hit power button on it, and there was a porno in the DVD player. He goes, and I'm like, damn, I'm like, I gotta turn that off. He's like, the old guy's like, don't worry about it. There's nothing but guys.
Was that his DVD player or was
it was his? No, it's his DVD player.
Okay, wow, all right. Well, that's the problem, bro.
I mean, there's always times where it's like, I mean, I feel like, especially a few years back, it was a good 50-50 shot of a porno being a DVD player.
That's classic right there. And you know the look on his face must have been like, because I would have been like, oh shit.
No, he was almost like proud of it.
Yeah,
like, dude, I think dude was like in his 70s.
He's like, I got the whole collection. I got all of them. I was like, that always blew my mind. Like, who buys porn? Like, I've never purchased porn.
Yeah.
It's always been like, when I was young, it was like I got a magazine from a friend. You know what I mean? Like, it was always hand-me-down shit. A VCR, a tape I got from somebody.
There's a porn DVD store in East Hartford still. Like, you could go in and buy DVDs. And it's like, what? Why does this exist? It's like, have the people that going in there like never heard of the internet, or are they just fucking nostalgic?
They're conspiracy theorists. They know Big Brother's watching. They can't put all that stuff. They don't want that footprint of them searching porn.
Really?
Right? I mean, think about it. Like, if you wanted to watch porn on the low, like, no one knows. They can't do a search history, nothing. You fucking go to the DVD store. Who fucking?
Well, you know what's odd though. You know, it's like I'm starting to get like Facebook advertisements for like fucking BBW.
You'll get. Listen, you can't even right now. The fact that we're talking about it, it's going to be on our timeline. It's going to be in your fucking timeline just because we spoke about it. None of us are on Facebook right now, but our phones are next to us. If you speak about it, it's going to be on fucking Facebook.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I used to, like I still do, I buy like women's shoes for my wife.
Right.
She loves shoes. And I remember being at work and have a coworker looking over my shoulder and I start looking at it and fucking women's shoe ads pop up and they're like, that's what you're looking for online. Like, I got a wife, motherfucker. Shut up. Like, I shop for her. It's not me. Like, that shoe you were interested in is now on sale. Like, fuck you. Don't tell people what I'm looking for online. But it's anything you say.
That's nice. That's something I feel like most guys don't do. They don't like put that extra step in to buy their wives shoes.
I always believe that whatever you did to get your girlfriend to be with you and your girlfriend to be your wife, those are the things you got to keep doing throughout the whole relationship. You don't just stop. Like, oh, now she's mine. That's why women say, oh, he changed. You know, sometimes it's women's fault because they believe in their mind that you're somebody. Yeah. You're the person they want you to be. And then when those, what you call those new relationship goggles go away, then they're like, oh, this is who you are. You didn't change. They just... their vision changed.
You were just trying harder at one point, yeah.
But you know, if you that's what you did, I mean, then you just keep doing it. You know, now if she gets to the point where she's not appreciative and she's not, you know, you feel like she's not, then it's different. But you know, as long as you're doing what you got to do as a man and just keep delivering. You know what I mean? I treat my wife right now the same way that I treat her since the day we met. You know. Matter of fact, our first time seeing each other in person, first time. First time was I brought her a cup of coffee.
Really?
So before I left today, I brought a cup of coffee, and then I came down here. You know, that hasn't changed.
Wow, you really are a stand-up guy. And, you know, I feel bad about you leaving this Facebook group that I created. I feel like I just created a shit show of Facebook.
No, it wasn't you. So what you did was good. What I did was, you know, I've been in all the other Connecticut Facebook groups, and I see there's a weird I guess, atmosphere when it comes to the CT comedians that I see from the outside looking in, right? And so when you created this new group, I was like, all right, I'm gonna like the other ones. I was quiet. I didn't really post a lot. I didn't comment a lot. So I said, here's a fresh start, not only
Right.
for
And
a
for the
CT
people
group.
that don't know the inside baseball, I created a Connecticut Facebook group for the comedians and called it Connecticut
Outsiders.
Comedy Outsiders.
So when I saw that, I was like, okay, cool. Here's a chance for me to start participating in a Connecticut group. And what do I want to do? Like I don't need to tell other comedians how funny I am by putting a funny post every day.
Right.
You want to be funny. That's what the stage is for, right? That's what we do there. Or if I'm gonna create content, then I can share content. But a funny post, like do that shit on your own timeline.
Right.
I feel like these groups are great for networking. So that we all know what's going on in the scene, whether it be in Connecticut or Massachusetts or New York. Any information we got, we share with each other. Any ideas for comedians to grow? So I just started just posting little positive. Positive posts,
positive affirmations,
right?
Because I was on your side about this. Just so you know, you're posting this positive stuff in my group, and that's the kind of stuff that I wanted to see, especially because here's what I think the problem is with these group pages. All these comedians that are in the group page, they want all the benefits of a group page, but they're not willing to put in the work ethic to make it a good group page.
Right, and they're just quick to shit on each other, and I was like, I thought this was a new group. Let's give it a shot, and I became more vocal in this group than I did on any other group. So I was like, all right, cool. And again, just sharing little positive tidbits, little nuggets every day, and it was just getting these weird responses, and people putting up other posts with little subliminal messages, or I'm like, just say what the fuck you're gonna say. If you gotta say it to me, say it on my post. Don't say, hey, how about, you're not giving me advice about how to be a comedian. Well, if you don't want that, get out of a comedian's group. Because this is not an open mic. We're not here to watch each other and not laugh.
Yeah.
Right? So we're here to build each other.
But I think I feel like that's what most of the comedians that are active in a group page are the open micers. And they don't realize what they're saying has any effect on it's like there's headliners reading this stuff. There's bookers reading this stuff.
Exactly. And that's what these groups should be for. This is that thing. I mean, we need a place to network. We need a place. I see a few shows going on in Connecticut. Not a whole lot. What I don't see is a lot of big paid shows.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I produce shows in Connecticut and Massachusetts. When I produce shows, like my headliners get good money.
Right.
You know what I mean? Pre-pandemic, my headliners would get.
Where do you produce shows in Connecticut?
In Connecticut, I just got a spot up in on Franklin Avenue in Hartford called Hot Mamas. They were the manager there, the bar manager. She used to manage a restaurant in Massachusetts where I was producing shows at one point, and she asked me when she came there. She's like, "Can you bring a show down here?" Okay. So I went and made a deal with them, and we're doing one on April 3rd. At the it's called Hot Mamas. It's a bar and lounge.
You already know who's on that show?
Yeah. So
who do you got on that show?
I got Aldo Rackley, and he's a New York comedian out of Queens. I'm not sure you heard of him. He's phenomenal. The dude is one of my favorite comedians in the world. I booked him plenty of times, and when I proposed to my wife at a comedy show that I produced as my quote unquote birthday show, so she wouldn't suspect anything was going on, but she didn't know I was going to propose. And I asked her, look, it's my birthday show. It's a big show. Let's pick our top 3 comedians, our favorites. She picked Aldo. I picked Imagine. And we both went with, why can't I think of his name right now? It sucks that I can't think of his name right now. But anyway.
Don't feel bad about it. So, sometimes, the names just slip your mind on the podcast.
I love
it's not because you don't care. It's just because you're on air.
50 years old. That's all. Holy shit. But yeah, so I got him on it, and I have put Richie on a show already that I'm doing April 4th in Springfield, and I decided to give Aldo the weekend, so I gave Richie the weekend as well.
Okay.
So yeah, and again now I'm paying Richie to feature more than he's gonna get at if he did Funny Bone or if he did, Stress Factory or if he did, any of the Weehawk shows here in West Hartford. I paid them. I know I'm gonna make money, and if I don't, you know what? I'm gonna have to go to my ATM and pull out money because when I book shows not only as a booker but as a comedian.
Yep.
And I want to treat all those comedians the way I wish I get treated by the bookers. So, my headline is getting a hotel room. He's getting covered his drinks, his meals, and he's getting a decent amount of money for the weekend.
Nice.
And that's the culture. You got to lead by example. You got to build that culture. When you do a lot of the shows out here, they're like, oh, we'll give you $50. Like, you're making more than $50. I know you are. I know you make, and if you're not making enough to pay your headliner more than $50, then you're not making the right deals with these restaurant owners, because they're gonna make money. They're making money off of food. They're making money off of drinks, and if there's a door charge, they're making money off the door.
Right.
So where are you? Where are you in that mix? Are you getting the door only? Or are you getting the door and maybe a percentage of the bar? Like, how are you negotiating these things? And this is again what these groups are about. Like, we can talk and see how we negotiate this best, not only to help us as the promoter of that show.
So here's the problem, and it's guys like you that have a producer's mindset that go into the Facebook group, try to give like the open micer guys advice, and then it's like, oh, I've never heard of you. Like, what are you trying to give me advice for? And that's where like the bullshit starts happening.
Yeah.
It's because of a lack of work ethic on the open micers part.
And I blame myself a little bit because on that, because so for the beginning of my comedy career, like, I really hustled to try and make a name for myself and get everywhere, and I did everything I had to do. I rode around with Artie Robb. He taught me the ropes.
The first show I ever did was I hosted for Artie Robb over at the Joker's Wild.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
So that and he taught me a lot. And I said, look, you don't ever think you got to get me on stage. Just take me. I want to be. He didn't have a car. I was a comedian that was trying to learn comedy. I was like, wherever you're going, just tell me we're going, and I'm taking you.
Mm-hmm.
And you met the promoters. I met the comedians. I met everybody who was involved in putting this show together. And I was like, these are the things I need to learn. Not only how to be a comedian, how to get on stage, how to get myself booked, how to perform, but how to build a good show.
Right.
So I take that and I want to share that because it helps everybody. If I can give you guys information on how to put a real good show together, the promoter, if that's you, is going to make more money, and you're going to be in a position where you can pay comedians better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we all want. We all want to get paid fairly and feel like we're doing something. $50 is not really helping anybody. Great, I got $50, but am I going to walk out of there that night feeling like, I'm a good comedian because I made them laugh, or I'm a good comedian because I made them laugh and I made a few bucks that I could pay a bill with?
Right.
So what I was getting at earlier was that after a while, I looked at my age. I'm like, I'm 40, going to be 49 this year. And I'm like, how do I'm married now. I'm not going to be grinding it out in New York anymore. So I'm not going to be driving to New York and driving to Boston every day or every weekend trying to get, all these spots and getting notoriety and people that's not going to happen. So I found a niche for myself in comedy fundraisers. And I opened up my own branch, a franchise for Funny for Funds.
That's exactly what I'm starting to do. So I'm producing my own fundraisers. Like last year, we did a fundraiser for cancer, and we did a whole Ghostbusters themed comedy show where all the comedians dress like Ghostbusters. Yep, that's the poster for it right there. And then you see that red one in the corner. We did one for SMA. So that's what I'm interested in producing.
And there's a niche there. There's a need there, and it allowed me to put two things I love. I love helping people. Like I told you in that little VCR story, it's not about making the money. It's about helping the person. Yeah. And I love making people laugh. Comedy's been my thing all my life. So I put this together, and I was doing so well before COVID, right? Right. I was doing so well that I no longer was in that comedy scene or going to the clubs. because I was working every weekend.
Yeah.
If I wasn't working on a weekend, it's because I chose not to work. Because I was like, oh, I want to spend time with my wife this weekend, or we're gonna do something else, or I had some plans. But if I didn't have anything, I was working. I was doing comedy and getting good money. More money than the clubs, more money than the private shows. I mean, when COVID hit, March, April, May, I had $3,000 a month booked, paid,
Mm-hmm.
already set in the books. So I was getting to the point where I'm like, if I can double that, then I can, in my mind, that $6,000 a month, I can do comedy full time. So I was already building my way to that without being in this scene, in the Massachusetts scene, the New York scene, the Connecticut. I wasn't in there, but I was making more money than when I was in it, and that's what I was building. That's what I wanted to build, and I found that to be more lucrative. So people were like, "Is Phil even still doing comedy?" I'm like, "I'm actually working more than a lot of you. Is I'm not even doing it, and then I'm on these shows. I'm really stretching out. I'm doing 30-minute sets at least. If I'm headlining, I can do 40 whatever. So I got at least an hour, maybe a little more than an hour of material now, but I was able to use it all.
Right.
So I wasn't busting my ass for 5-minute spots, 10-minute spots. Maybe a 15-minute spot. If I'm doing one of the feature shows on 20-minute spot. I wasn't doing that anymore. Now I'm just going all out and doing nice long sets and getting paid good money for it. So I kind of didn't get into the scene anymore. So people were like, "Who are you now?" All right, now they're like, "Who are you?" Well, this is who I am. I'm trying to share with you guys. Hey, there's other ways to make money. In comedy.
Yeah, of course there are, and it's like, and the problem is, it's like. A lot of these guys, they're not willing to think outside the box. It's like they go to open mics, they try to put themselves, they think that it's like putting themselves out there and just trying to get booked is the way to do it. Where it's like a guy like you, it's like you keep your head down and you put in the work, and then it's.
But I'm not afraid to share. That's the weird thing. They think that I don't know if they take it as arrogance, or how they see me, like I'm acting like I know it all. No, I'm just. If I find $1 million, I'm trying to say, hey, this is how I found it.
Right.
Hey guys, this is how I found it. I'm not one of those like, oh shit, let me keep this to myself. Fuck everybody else. I don't mind sharing that, and I look for the people. Like I got a few good inboxes from people that were just like, look, I like what you said. Here's my set. Tell me what you think. And I'm like, I hate watching videos, but I'm gonna watch it because the way you approach me, cool, and I share whatever information. Now, I don't know everything.
Right.
I don't, trust me, I'm still learning, and I can learn from a 1-year comedian as much as I can learn from a 30-year comedian. You never know what somebody's going to be able to teach you, or something that they do that you can apply and say, that'll work for me. You know what I mean? And again, it could be a 1-year comedian, it could be a 20-year comedian, because there's 20-year comedians that don't have the mindset I have.
Right.
And or maybe they've lost it for whatever reason because they've been in it so long. So you don't know what's going on. But if you just share, I remember one of the things I took from a veteran comedian, Dick Doherty. It was something I was already doing in my comedy. I just didn't know I was doing it, right? And we were at Roadhouse in Rhode Island, Twin Rivers or whatever that casino is. And we were watching a comedian on stage, and the comedian was up there just a lot of vulgarity, and he was like, "Oh, I hate that." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "He's just cursing for no reason."
Right.
And he's, and he was talking about like just really nasty sexual shit. And I was like, "So you don't curse in your sets?" He goes, "No, I do curse." He says, "But I have a rule. When I'm on stage, if I'm talking about sex, I'm not cursing. If I'm cursing, I'm not talking about sex. And that's how you keep a dirty set clean." And I was like, wow, that's interesting. And I went back and I looked at my set and I was like, that's exactly what I fucking do. I always, because I drop F-bombs all the time, right? But I have certain material in my set that's sexual in nature, but I never say.
I don't know if you're a fan of wrestling, but the Mick Foley, you're aware of him, and you're aware that he's a comedian. He said something really interesting that that I like to quote him on. Is that like using like the F word in a comedy act is kind of like using the chair in wrestling.
Yeah.
It's like if you save it, it's like you're not just going to bring out the chair like in the beginning of an act. Like you save it, and then it's got more power later.
Right,
You know,
it's true. It's true. I mean, and stuff like that you keep, and it stays in my mind and in my heart. And I'm like, oh, I could use that. Let me, I remember walking into a show one time, and it was like a last minute. Somebody said, hey, they want you on this show, and I show up, and again, I was in maybe my second year, and they were like, this is 100% clean show. This is a gospel crowd.
right?
It's nothing but church people in there. Can you work clean? And I immediately said, yeah. But in my mind, I was like, what the fuck? Like, what am I going to say? So I looked at my notes, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's not dirty. I'm like, okay, I just don't have to say fuck. Like, you know what I mean? I don't have to, and I use that kind of a lot of us use it as an exclamation point. It's just that to emphasize whatever we're saying. And I'm like, I don't have to do that. I just have to change my inflection and make sure that they know that's where, that's where the point is, or that's where the punchline is. And so I went on stage and I did it. Richie was with me, and as soon as he asked Richie that, Richie was like humming, and he was like, "You're out. You're off the show right away." Just because he hesitated, so you're off the show. And so that same comedian was a headliner. It was I can't remember think of his name right now. Anyway, but he was like, "Look, both you guys." He says, "The more clean comedy you can do, the more work and more money you're gonna make."
Yeah, it's true.
And I'm like, boom, another one. Just put that shit in the file and keep that, because that's something I work towards. So my set it's a lot of stuff in there is not clean, but the way I deliver it, I get away with it.
Right.
And I can get away with it in a clean show. And I had a show one time with Dame FK.
Yeah.
It was
I know Dame.
It was like a showcase out in East Hartford, and I remember the owner of the restaurant.
Where was that? Sully's?
No, I can't remember the name of the place. But I remember the owner coming up to say, "Hey guys, I got some regulars here and there. Most of them are ladies. Like, just keep it real clean." And I'm like, all right. And I did my regular set. And my regular set, I talk about 69. My first time doing 69. I talk about stuff like that. And it's if you think about it, it sounds dirty. But the way I explain it, and the way I deliver it, like, I got over on that crowd, and even the owner was like, "When are you coming back? I need you to come back and headline." I was like, "Well, this is not my room. The person who booked this, talk to them and they'll bring me back."
Yeah.
Dane went up after me, and he didn't listen to how I was delivering. He just listened to my content. Like, oh, he's talking about 69. He went up there talking about eating a girl's pussy, and
right.
And the owner he just lost his mind. He said, "What is he doing?" So he got off stage. He was like, You did it." I said, "That's not what I did."
Right.
That's not what yeah, but you said, "No, I didn't say." I painted the picture. I let them say it in their minds. And each one of them made it as funny as it could be to them, and they laughed.
There's definitely a difference between innuendo and giving somebody an idea, or planting an idea in somebody's brain than just flat out saying it. And nothing against Dame FK. I love Dame FK.
Dame's a funny dude. It's just, and this was quite a few years ago, and I guess like he in his mind, he saw me doing that. He's like, "Fuck it, I could do it too." And not that, again, I'm not saying this is not about anybody being better than anybody else. It was attention to detail right there.
Right.
The owner really wanted to keep it clean, and then if he would have went first, I would have said, "Well, I'm still going to be careful," because I remember what the owner said.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pay attention to the comedian who went before me and say, "I'm going to do whatever they do."
Yeah.
In that situation, because again, the owner is the one. When you're dealing with the crowd, then you can let the comedians kind of feel it out,
totally,
push it to the edge, and go as far as the audience lets you go. That's different with the room. So you read a room, and sometimes you got to respect the booker or the owner.
Totally, pleasing the staff and the owner is almost more important than pleasing the audience.
A lot of times,
in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. In the clubs, especially, if it's a place that's doing regular spots. You want to. I have a rule, like, when I do it when I go to the Elbow Room, or when I go to Sheesh. Like, when I go to spend money.
Right.
If I'm gonna go watch a show as a comedian, just to mingle with you guys and hang out with you guys, I'm going over there and I'm gonna spend some money at the bar, at the in the kitchen, something. because it's important for us to have these venues
Totally.
to hold live shows. And if it's a light crowd and they're not making any money at the bar or in the kitchen, they're gonna start questioning, why are we having you here? We need to think of something else. Then the karaoke guy comes in and we lose the spot, right?
Totally.
So it's important to spend something, and you don't have to spend a lot of money because a lot of comedians don't have a lot of money. We all work day jobs, so if you spend $10, and 8 of us spend $10, they just made $80, right?
Right.
So $80 or zero. What at least he made $80 that night, even though there was maybe 2 people in the audience. Now when you add that up and there's more people in the audience and everything, now no matter what happens, that bar owner or that restaurant owner had a successful night in that room.
Yeah.
And it benefits him or her to keep it going.
Hey, I'm all for comedy benefiting everybody.
Right.
It's like it's not just, you can't have the mindset, or it's just like and I think that's a lot of what it is. A lot of comics just have a selfish mindset.
It's not a selfish mindset. It is to some people, but it's just an awareness. So they may not be aware of that. They're, especially younger comedians, they're not aware that what it takes to keep that room open, right? For them to turn on the lights in that room, for them to pay a server to work that room, for them to just have all that, just to let us be there, right? There's stuff that goes on in the back end. They're in there trying to be funny. They want to work on their material. They want to, what am I going to talk about? How I got to be good. So they got a lot on their mind.
Right.
Like, as a comedian, you're going there, you got your thing. You're looking at your notes. You're reading. You're focused.
But
so
it is a career path that is by nature selfish.
No, right. It is. But that's what I'm saying. You're not being selfish in a selfish way. You're not like, I'm just a selfish person.
Right.
To give them the benefit of the doubt, I'm just saying they're being focused.
Right.
They're focusing on what they're going to do. They want to be funny. They want to be liked. They want to make sure that they don't mess up. They're focused on all that stuff, on giving a good show, right, and getting all those laughs. And that's what we should be focused on, right? But there's other stuff going on around it that's allowing you that opportunity. So it's just like, don't forget about that other stuff that's giving you the chance to do that. Because without the stage, where are we going to do it?
Yeah.
Right? So anytime they give you a platform, it's a bar, restaurant, and especially if you like the room, like the Elbow Room is a great room, Sheesh is a great room. Like I want to keep that room going, even if I'm not there. You know what I mean? Even
Totally.
if I'm not there, I just want to know that it's there, and that I got other comedians that are working all the time in a nice room, right? So if I'm gonna go there, I'm spending money. I don't even drink alcohol, but maybe I'll buy someone else to drink.
Yeah.
Like that's
Sheesh is a great room, right?
It is a beautiful room.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be headlining there.
I just started seeing a girl
30th.
that I met there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
April 30th,
got a
May
date tonight.
1st, and I want to record that because I love that room. That room reminds me of Laugh Tracks. You see that show, Laugh Tracks? It's on True TV.
No.
Google it. It's a fun. They take they take comedians, they put them on this stage, and then as they're doing their set, they're cutting in and out of videos.
Oh no! I have seen that show.
Right.
I have seen that show.
That were there on stage,
and I love that kind of stuff. I love the combination. The combination of stand up and sketch comedy, I think, is great.
It's beautiful. So that's what that room Sheesh reminds me of. The way it's set up, the colors. So I'm bringing some camera stuff. I'm gonna be recording, hopefully both nights.
Nice.
Because I like the room. I want a newer tape.
I hear you.
So
who was like your main influences like growing up? Like who were you into?
It's so weird because everybody growing up. You know what I mean? When you talk about Rodney and Pryor and Murphy, like everybody, and even into my teen years when I was just going to the comedy clubs just to sit down and watch. My later teen years, like I remember watching Mitch Fatel go up, and nobody even knew who he was.
Right.
I remember going to an open mic, and Chris Rock just walked in off the street because he had a talk show coming up, Tonight Show, whatever, and him doing a fucking set and destroying.
Right.
So like, I mean, and that's why I think my style is the way it is, because I can't pinpoint what category I fall into as a comedian. I talk about my life. I talk about stuff that I've been through, and sometimes I write stuff to embellish, like to make the joke funnier or make the situation funnier. But I don't know anybody else that I would fall into that category with, and I think it's because I like everybody,
Right.
right? But I do know that just because you like a comedian, you love their style, that doesn't mean that's what you do.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like the best way to find your voice is stop trying to be like the people that you like.
Yeah,
You know?
right. That's it. And I mean, some comedians are really good at writing jokes, writing one-liners, and like the Dave Sheehan's. I love his one-liners. But I feel like for me, in my opinion, writing life is the best. You'd be surprised how many people relate to the shit you went through.
Yeah.
You're not the. It's really when they tell you you're not alone, you're not the only one. You're not. Everybody's gone through some shit, and if they didn't go through it, someone they know went through it, and you share those experiences in the way you can as a comedian, and you'll never fail. You'll never fail. You'll be surprised. Trust me, I've done the most diverse rooms. I've done rooms where it was 80% people from London, and I'm like, do they even know what a Puerto Rican is? Like what? What the fuck am I gonna? I got Puerto Rican jokes. How do I? And I just say, I'm gonna do what the fuck I do. I'm gonna do what I do, and it worked. I did a show in Philly one time, and I was out there for work, so I had people from all over the United States, different ages. It was black, white, Asian, Spanish, old, young. I mean, you name it, from California, Utah, Chicago, Florida, everywhere.
Yeah.
So, and I packed them in this one room. 25 extra people that just came in with me, and they were from all that. And I walked up to the host and I said, I just gave you guys a gift. This is going to be probably the most diverse room you've ever done up to this point. Everyone in that room is a different demographic. So if you can go out there and rock that room, you'll rock any room. And I was like, oh shit. And they loved it. They loved it. And that's the idea. As a comedian, you want to be universal. You want to be able to go anywhere and tell your story and have that audience take that ride with you and enjoy it.
Right.
And so that's what I look for. I look for those challenges. I love that. A lot of times comedians will get stuck in a room that they love because everyone laughs at me there. When I go to the black room, they don't laugh at me. When I go to the Latino room, they don't laugh at me. You gotta work it out so you can go everywhere, and that makes you stronger. So go to those tough rooms. When I started out, the toughest room for me was an open mic, Bishop's Lounge.
Oh yeah. I've done that room a few times.
Yeah, and Bishop's when my first 6 months of comedy, I went up there, and I got like 2 laughs.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, like it just blew my mind. Like, what the hell? What's going on? What did I do wrong? And I was like, all right, I'm gonna come back to this room, and the next time I come to this room, everybody's gonna laugh, right? And I didn't rush back. I don't think I went back for another 6 months. Okay. I kept doing what I was doing, kept grinding out, growing as a comedian. As you grow, your jokes grow. Because again, I've had jokes that I started doing when I first started doing comedy that were just fucking landing flat, and now they've grown with me, and I can close on any one of those jokes. So you as you grow, and I did a show at the U Pub.
Okay.
And Shanahan, Jerry, what was his name? I forgot. Shanahan, I forgot his first name. He was hosting that room, and he was hosting the Bishop's Lounge at that time. He says, yo, you got to come back to Bishop's. And I was like, all right. I went back, and after that, anytime I went to Bishop's, it was more of like, Phil, where do you want to go up? I could take any spot in the lineup. They're going to bump people. They're going to move me where I wanted to be. Because I earned that. I went back, and I did what I had to do, and I rocked it. And I was like,
there you go.
And it's not a paid room. But it was something for me to accomplish. So comedians, a lot of times, especially younger comedians, they stay away from those rooms. Oh, I bombed over there. I'm not going back over there. How do you know you grew? If you don't go back there, how do you know if you got better? If you don't go back there and tackle that one,
it just seems like you have a goal-oriented kind of mentality towards the whole thing.
We all should. We all want to go somewhere. Like I said, the reality of me, in my story, I don't think I'm going to be that movie comedian or that arena comedian. I started late in life, and back in the day, I mean, Dangerfield didn't start till 50, but it was a different time. Now with all the internet and all this online content, it's a little easier and tougher.
Well, you know something interesting about Dangerfield? Supposedly he did comedy when he was young. And supposedly, I got Lenny Bruce's album on the wall. Him and Lenny Bruce were supposedly roommates.
Oh, really?
And apparently his voice was like a major influence over Lenny Bruce, and that's why years later, when he came back to do stand-up comedy, he changed his real name to Rodney Dangerfield. He didn't want people to remember him as the guy who was Lenny Bruce's roommate.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
but so I just because of that, I look at everyone's goals different. I watched a show called Crashing. You remember Crashing?
It's a good show.
I love that. I'm so mad that they canceled it. But again, I watched it because I enjoyed the show, enjoyed the whole concept of it. But like, what are you gonna learn from that, right?
Yeah.
I learned a lot. I learned a lot of stuff from that show. One of the things I remember my first year and a half of comedy. I was in New York. So I was from New York. I go to New York all the time. I brought my wife down there. We're hanging out. We're in Times Square, and these guys are barking. I didn't know barking. Yeah. I didn't know what barking was.
No, I bark.
Right. So yeah. I didn't know what barking was.
Yeah.
So these guys are like, "Hey, you want to go to a comedy show tonight?" And I'm thinking, I'm a comedian. I'm a year in, right? I'm like, oh yeah, who's on the show? And they're like, oh, we got different people. I was like, oh yeah, I'm a comedian. I didn't know I was talking to a comedian. This guy who's out here barking, he's a fucking comedian. He's doing this to get time on stage. And I'm arrogant. Yeah, I do. I'm a comedian too. Yeah. Like, I didn't know, so it's funny. I learned that.
If you want to build your self-esteem, barking is really...
I've had enough jobs to... I had enough jobs in my life, bud. And I spent time in the military. Trust me, this is... Yeah, you learn humility,
But it's funny you should mention the show Crashing, where it's like, I think when that show came out, it was... I tried watching it, and it gave me like terrible anxiety because that's where I was at in my career. It was too real. The way like this guy, he was basically homeless and he's running around barking. I was doing all the same shit this guy was.
Crashing on couches.
Yeah.
People didn't. I think that people didn't understand. That's why the show didn't go. Is because they didn't understand how real this fucking show was. Mm-hmm. They didn't understand. Like, I was looking at it like, okay, I didn't have to do that barking stuff, but I knew what these comedians were doing. I know, when you talk about full-time comedians in New York, like, a lot of them have to do 7 shows a night to make good money because they're only making $25, $50 a spot.
Right.
So they're running from club to club to club to club, and it's benefiting them because doing all that's going to not only make them the money so they can pay their rent and stuff, but you do 7 shows a night, you're going to become a strong comedian real fast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they grow really quick doing that. I never knew what a warm-up comedian was, for like these talk shows. I didn't even know that existed until I saw Crashing. And I was like, wow, like that made me open my mind. How many other jobs? And then it made me think about something else, a conversation I had with somebody.
They should do another season where he's like a cruise ship comedian.
Yeah. Well, they touched on it.
Yeah.
They touched on it when he was on the Christian tour.
Oh, right.
I used to do the cruise, and so I did Disney. So they touched on that stuff, and that's good. That's good money. Cruise ship comedians make good money too. It's not easy to get in, but they make good money. So there's so many other jobs out there. You wanna. Like I said, I had this conversation with somebody one time. And we were like, there's only a certain amount of top comedians at any given time. You know? So there's not a lot of room at the top. So, and I was like, yeah, so it's not easy to be successful in comedy. And they inboxed me and said, what's your definition of success? And I was like, well, I'm just talking about, like to be that famous. Yeah, but does that mean if you don't do that, you're not successful? So let me ask you this. If you're able to pay your bills, take care of your family, make enough money to go on vacation and all that other stuff, and not have to work a day job, and you're only doing comedy to make that happen, would that be successful to you? And I was like, oh, hell yeah. Well, hell yeah. And I was like, wow, oh shit, you're right. So when you think about success, think about being able to do only what you love, only comedy, and still live as good or even better than you are with your day job.
Right.
That if that's not success, like you know what I mean. I know Joey Vega. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He's a comedian. He does shows all over the place, but his main comedy job is he opens for Mark Anthony.
Right.
That's
really
for nearly 20 years now, or maybe 20 years already. He's been Mark Anthony's opening comic, and it's a role reversal because when Mark Anthony first came into the Latin scene, he opened up for Joe.
You know, I worked at Mohegan, and you're right. Mark Anthony does have a comedian opener.
He doesn't have a musical opener. He has Joey Vega. So what happened? Mark Anthony.
It's actually a genius move.
It is, and the way they do it is smart. Because if you watch again, I mean, people. I analyze a lot of shit when I'm watching shows. When I went to go see Joey work, and he just comes up like he's about to bring out Mark Anthony on that spot.
I've seen this.
You guys ready for Mark Anthony?
Yeah.
He comes out and then he's talking for 30 minutes. He doesn't say, "Hey, I'm Joey Vega, comedian." No, because nobody wants. They come to see Mark,
but these people go nuts.
Yes. So he goes up there and he's like, "You're ready for Mark Anthony?" And he's walking up to the stage, blah blah. We're gonna bring him out, blah blah. You know, and then he just starts talking.
Yeah.
And they don't know it's a set, but they're like they're on board with him. The transition was smooth enough because they thought Mark Anthony was just coming out, and then he kept them laughing until Mark Anthony came out.
It takes balls to do that act though, because
everyone there is everyone they're not there to see you.
They're not there to see you.
But that's the genius of it. If they said, you know, coming to the stage, comedian Joey Vega, the whole crowd would be like, we didn't come here for a fucking comedy show.
Right.
So he doesn't do that. He comes out as the announcer.
Yeah.
I'm announcing Mark Anthony, but you're going to listen to me for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, and he just does it. They don't warn him. They don't prepare him. They just ease into it.
I'll tell you, that Mark Anthony show, the way the seats are set up at Mohegan, I've never seen so much ass in those seats. I thought the seats were gonna fucking break off
the last one I went to was over here and not too far from here, down by I think Bridgeport. It was in Bridgeport actually, so it was in Connecticut. But I forgot what theater that is over there in Bridgeport. It's a big one. I brought my wife there. It's funny because the guy sitting next to me, him and his wife really were just waiting for the Mark Anthony show.
Right.
So I remember him getting up and, you know, walking by us. I got out, stepped into the house and get out. He's like, I can't take this guy anymore. I'm done. He goes to get a beer.
Yeah.
You know how long it takes to get a beer. You walk all the way over there, you stay in line. By the time he got on stage, Joey was at my seat with me. So the guy, by the time he got back from getting a beer, so the guy's coming back to get in, and he's like, oh, excuse me. And he looked, and he saw Joey right there with us, and he looked at me like, you fucking know this guy? And I was talking shit about him. and I just laughed, and my wife was dying because she saw his face.
Oh,
but, you know, it's not for everybody. But, again, you know, like, that's another job I didn't know existed. You know, there's so many different jobs. And go out there. There's so much different work for comedians in different areas. It's just going to allow you to not only make good money, but to do what you love doing and making people laugh. I mean, there's so much. There's companies out there that hire comedians just to talk to old people.
Yeah.
In nursing homes. Go and meet with them and just chat with them and sit down and make them laugh. You got an audience of one.
Yeah.
But
almost be like Patch Adams.
Yeah, but you know how important you are to that one person?
Mm-hmm.
You're more important to them than you are to a room of 1,000. You know, and you're making them laugh and you're getting money. I did a show recently in Southington for 2 people. You know, and it's perspective, right? So the guy he wanted to take his wife to the Bahamas, but because of COVID, they couldn't travel. So he decided, all right, for her 40th birthday, I'm going to rent a big hotel suite. I'm hiring a personal chef. I'm hiring a musician to play music while we eat. And then I'm going to end the night with a comedian. And he booked me. So, you know, I get there and I'm waiting in the lobby until the musician leaves because then it's my cue to go up. And I'm like, hey, how was it? And he was like, man, it was weird. I thought maybe they were going to bring a couple of their friends with them. It's really just them 2 people.
Right.
I said, well, to me, that's a sold-out show. He said, what do you mean? I said, as a comedian, I've been to shows where I thought 100 people were going to show up and only 2 people showed up. Right now, I know it's only 2 people supposed to come here tonight. So if I go upstairs and it's 2 people, it's sold out. you know what I mean? And he said that's a genius way to look at it. I'm like, yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
matter of fact, the chef was still up there, so it was like 150% capacity in that room, right? And so I went up there and I just said, I'm gonna do this show like it's a full show.
Mhm.
I did a show in New Haven with Artie one time at some restaurant, and 4 minutes away at the Sports Coliseum, whatever that sports complex, it was Gilbert Gottfried for $20. 2 people walked into the show. We were at only 2 people.
Mhm.
We expected the room to be full. Only 2 people. And they came in because they were just walking around. They saw the restaurant. Oh, let's eat here. They didn't even know it was a comedy show.
Yeah.
So it's perspective. Like, what do you expect? But you got to give your all to no matter who's there. And that was that show, that private show. I made $250 just to sit there with a couple and hang out and make them laugh for a little while.
It's all about doing your time too.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're right. It is about perspective. It's like you went in there with a positive attitude and you still made those people happy. So it's like what if you blew the whole thing off? That you wouldn't have made the money
and those people are really connected in Southwick. And so when they found out that I do fundraisers, like, trust me, when stuff opens up again, I'm gonna have a huge amount of work coming out of Southwick. From the PTOs, from the school departments, from teams, private fundraisers, all kinds of stuff.
Well, I think we're on the same page on a lot of things, because that's really all I'm interested in doing right now is producing fundraisers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, doesn't it just make you feel good? Like
When you present that check and this is what we raised for this organization or this person or this family tonight.
Yeah.
That's it right there. Like, I get goosebumps now thinking about it. It's such an amazing feeling, and we did it making people laugh.
Yeah.
Like, I remember I did a show, and Giancarlo, it was a few people. Giancarlo Bellantino was one of the people with me. It was for a veterans association.
Right.
I forgot the name of the organization, but it was hilarious because the lady who organized it, she asked me, can I say a few words? I got some families just before the show.
Right.
And I'm like, it's your show? Absolutely. What I didn't know was that she was bringing families up there to give testimonials about, suffering from PTSD and traumatic brain injury, TBI. I'm like, so they went up there and talked. I mean, I was in tears. Everyone in the audience was in tears. And like the comedians that were on the show walked outside. They're like, I can't listen to this. And then go off stage and make these people. How do we make people laugh? Like, everybody's crying right now, So I got on stage as the host, and I was like, hey, I want to thank everyone so and so, and I said, like, I just want to point out the families, like, you guys. I can't imagine the job as hard as it is for you as a wife to go through that with your husband, and you to have served us and going through that. That's got to be one of the hardest things. I mean, how do I explain something that, how hard it is? It's like if you had to come on stage after you guys telling that story and try to make the whole room laugh now. That's how hard. And everybody just started laughing.
Yeah.
Because they were like, yeah, it's like, after the room is crying, now we got to get up here and make you laugh. That's about how hard that shit is to me. And they lost it.
Yeah.
And that opened it up for the other comedians. But like, I was like, how do we start this? I don't even know how to start this. So I had to just touch on that. And a funny thing about that show, that was one show the lady was like, it has to be a clean show. Mm-hmm. And as a veteran myself, I'm like, these are veterans. No one in this room is going to care about somebody saying fuck. Like, and she's like, no, I'm not going to question you. That's what you want. That's what you'll get. And we gave them a clean show. And literally, at least 5 people walked up to after the show like, this was great, but why were they so clean?
Yeah.
I mean, this is like, right? It's like a group of construction workers. They don't care what the hell you're going to say. Right. It should be an adult. She was like, next time we do it, it's going to be an adult show. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, it was her personal preference. Yeah. It wasn't the crowd. But we had to respect her because she paid us. Right? Yeah. She's the one paying the bill. We're going to give you
again, there's and that's pleasing the booker is
and that's a
just
thing.
as important.
That's a reason a lot of comedians don't like fundraisers, because they feel like it's pandering. They feel like, oh, I'm an artist. I'm going to do what I do. They're not going to control what I say. Well, they're paying you.
But I think they I don't know. I don't understand it when like comics have done fundraisers and then like don't want to go back. I kind of feel like doing fundraisers it makes you feel like comedy is your superpower. Almost,
Yes.
you know.
Yes, absolutely. And honestly, it's the easiest rooms. It's the easiest rooms to do. I mean, I hate to feel like I've gotten complacent, but there's times where I leave. Like, let's say I'm so done doing comedy, and I go and I do like a room like Slays in Boston, which is a predominantly black crowd, and I mean, it's Black Comedy Explosion. And I go there, and it's a regular room that I do.
Right.
And I've been doing these fundraisers so long that I go in there and you have to deliver a little differently, and I'm stuck in that fundraising mode, and I'm like, so the first like minute or two, I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I remember where I'm at. I got to step it up.
You know what else is weird about the fundraiser? It almost takes some of the pressure of you doing well off, where it's like, because it's like the audience is there for a good cause. They're not just there to see your jokes. They're there for the good cause.
They're already feeling good. They've contributed to this cause by being there, by buying the tickets, by buying raffle tickets. They've contributed, and they know they're helping. So inside, they feel good. And now you're telling jokes. They're gonna laugh.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen anybody bomb at a fundraiser. Right? I mean, if you bomb at a fundraiser, just
you probably need psychiatry if you're bombing at a fundraiser.
There's something wrong with that. But you know, I mean, it's a great feeling. I love doing fundraisers, and you know, I mean, again, I love doing the comedy clubs too. It's a great feeling, but you know, if I had a choice between doing the two, I'd stick with doing the fundraisers because I mean, I've invested my own money in my own and my so I bought a franchise. Like with Money for Funds, it's not just I'm not doing like I used to do where I'm just putting together a fundraiser. And I mean, there's so much organization involved with Funny for Funds. You know, you have the support of the full Funny for Funds website where people are going to be able to, you know, make donations, you know, do sponsorships, buy tickets, do everything, and you know, the event coordinator you're dealing with has full access to their own page for that event.
Yeah.
They can see who's selling tickets, where they're at, all this other stuff. And then the uniformity is like wherever Funny for Fun show you go to, whether it's my branch or a branch in Rhode Island or a branch in Connecticut, the show set up, everything looks the same. Everyone's got their bows set up, their same stage we bought from the same company, the backdrops, the signage, everything is exactly the same.
Yeah.
You know, so it brings that uniformity to it, and like that's why it was a no-brainer for me to join Funny for Funds, because I was already doing my fundraisers, and it increased what I was raising. So the most I had raised on my own really was like $2,500.
Right.
You know, out of a comedy show, and that's after like what they paid me, and you know what they took home was like $2,500. Funny for Funds. You know, on a regular, we're doing an average of 5,000.
Really?
We've done, and again, after expenses, they've done at least 2 events that broke 40,000. They've done more than 20 events that broke, 10 events that broke 30,000. More than 20 that broke 20,000. So they, you know, because we teach people. We there's a formula that we use at Funny for Funds, and when we book a client, we meet with them and their whole team. And we teach them every step of how you're going to make money, where you're going to make money, and how to capitalize on all that. And when they put all those steps together, and we go that night, if they follow the steps, because everybody gets the same little, you know, advice and the same lessons that we give everybody. We give to every one of our clients. So it depends on if they put the work in, they're going to make money. If they put the minimal work on it, they're still going to make money. You know, so it's a proven, you know, formula, and that's when I joined. I sat with them, my wife. We sat together, and they were like, "You should open a branch. We don't have anybody in Western Mass." And they presented. I was like, "It makes total sense. I'm in."
Wow.
You know, and I paid and did what I had to do to get in, and you know now it's a little tougher to get in, but it's totally worth it. Once things open up again, it's totally worth it, and I feel like that is something that if I build it the way I was going already. You know, within another couple of years, with things being open, I'll be able to not work my day job anymore. You know, and that's
the dream,
goal.
right?
That's the goal. That's the goal. I don't want my wife to have to work.
Is this your brand on your shirt, by the way? Jokes do it.
No, well, so this is another thing. I over the pandemic, everybody started doing different shit. I'm really one of those guys who I like to be self-sufficient. So, you know, when it comes to like making my own flyers, I started doing that years ago because I hated waiting for my designer to fix one word. I'm like, if you take a week to do that, that's a week that I didn't promote my show.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
And then you find out how easy it is to be your own graphic designer.
So I did that. Same thing with my own videos. I started editing my own videos and doing that because I paid somebody nearly $700 to do my first comedy video, and it came out great. But there was some parts that I was like, oh my God, I hate this because the main part was they had me clearly mic'd and you can hear me perfectly, but you couldn't hear the crowd. Oh, you need that. You need, and I refused to add a laugh track to it. So I learned to do my own videos.
Yeah.
So over the
pandemic, that's like career suicide, right?
Over the pandemic, I started doing my own shirts, and the funny thing is that when I used to do my shirts before for shows, it was always like keep laughing Latino, like my stuff to promote me.
Yeah.
I started doing shows like a shirt like this. It's just a Nike symbol. It says "Jokes Do It." I have one that, matter of fact, this one here, that everybody thinks it's a Timberland shirt, but it says Timberlaugh.
Okay.
Right? I started doing these. These are not. You don't see anything on here that promotes me.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1 week, I sold $300 worth of shirts. Because it wasn't. Well, this one I put the Laughing Latino, but I did. I'm like, holy shit! I'm not promoting me. I'm just promoting what I think is funny.
I kind of want one of those jokes, dude.
I'll make you one. So, I just stopped promoting me. I'm like, I just want to share. The person who buys a shirt is gonna know where I got it. And even if it says Laughing Latino, like the person who sees the shirt on this, they're not gonna know who the fuck I am. So, who cares about that? So, when you sell merchandise at a show, you're selling yourself. Mm-hmm. They're not buying it because they loved the shirt. They're like, I'm gonna support you because you made me laugh.
Yeah, totally.
Right? So it doesn't really matter what's on the shirt. So you just tell, hey, take me home with you.
Yeah.
Take me home with you. Show a little support, and they'll buy the stuff. So I make these now so that they don't have to wear Philip Anthony on their shirt. They can wear something like this and go, oh, this is cool. I can wear this with some boots, and they'll think
I've only made T-shirts once, and it didn't have my name on it or anything like that. It just had the name of the podcast on it with the little logo.
So what I'm doing now with the shirts is, so whenever I do a show and I'm booked with other comedians, I'm gonna ask these comedians if they have merch because we all want to have merch, right? Mm-hmm. If you don't have merch, I'll make a deal with a comedian. Say I'll make you, maybe 10 shirts.
Right.
Just pay me this much, and then you keep the shirts. You sell them. If you sell them all that night, you made your money back plus. If you don't, you still got a couple more shirts left over for the next show.
See, my problem with the T-shirts is why I stopped doing it is like I end up giving T-shirts away because not because I have to, but just because like the way people are, I want a shirt, but then they don't want to pay, and it's like
then that's the point.
Yeah.
That's the same thing with a comedian going to a club, just to hang out and watch a show and hang out with the other comedians, but not buying a drink.
Yeah.
It's like you want to.
I'm too giving.
You want to support, but you don't want to support.
Yeah.
And I'm like that too. I hate charging people.
Yeah.
I know how hard it is to give up $20, but you know what? It's you gotta learn. Mm-hmm. And you gotta learn. There's gonna be a weird. I know. How long you been doing comedy now? You've been doing it for a while now.
Yeah, almost 10 years now.
Okay, so that in your first couple of years, it was easy to get shows, right? Easy, because you're doing free shit. You're doing $10 shit. You're doing cheap shit. You're doing showcases, bringers. You're doing all these mics. So you're flooded show. Once you get into like maybe 3, 4, 5 years in, that not only have you grown as a comedian, but your name is out there. Now you find it hard to get shows because now people know they have to pay you, mm-hmm. and they're like, I don't want. I could get another open micer for cheap. Like I can get them for free.
And plus they're hungrier for it.
Right. So they don't. You get to that point where people don't want to. They want to book you because they don't want to pay you or they think they can afford you. So they're like, but you have to start learning where to price yourself. Like I was doing at one point $10 a minute. Like you want me to do a show at $10 a minute?
$10 a minute.
So if I'm doing a 5-minute spot, you give me $50. If I do an hour, I'm getting $600. Like $10 a minute. And then I build it up. Now I want $20 a minute. Like because I know what I'm bringing to your show, the value and all I know, and I know what I'm worth. When you ask for it, if you ask for the money, you're gonna get it. You have to, because if you don't believe in how much you're worth, why would they?
Mm-hmm.
Why are they gonna pay you if you're like, oh, do I? Sometimes you leave money on the table. So I recently I met with someone at a bar that wanted me to bring a show there, and I said, I don't want to sell tickets. I don't want a door deal. Just give me a flat rate. And I went there with a flat rate of $1,000.
Right.
So $1,000, I could pay each of my comedians $200 and still make some money.
Yeah.
Right. So I went, and then at the meeting I was like, yeah, I can do it for $800. And he pulled a fucking wad of money out of his pocket. Here's half. We're all set. The night of the show, I'll give you the other half. I walked out of there with $400, and I was like, I left money on the table because I could have said 1,000 and got it. I could have said 1,200 and got it.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you gotta not be afraid of asking for that money. What we do is valuable. If it wasn't valuable, it wouldn't be a thing. What we do is valuable.
It's true.
So keep the value. If you don't value yourself, they're not gonna value you. And you have to. If they don't, that's why I don't like bringer shows. I hate bringer shows. I agree that as a 1 or 2 year comedian, you have to pay those dues, but a bringer show hurts everyone. It hurts comedy and this is my opinion. A lot of people, they disagree with me, and I've had this conversation, but a bringer show hurt because. So imagine this: you got 10 comedians on a show. Each person brings at least 5 people. Right? Now you got 50 people in the audience who came there to see one person support one friend. Then they're all new comics, so they're not going to be all good.
Right.
So these 50 people, and some of them may have never been to a comedy show, and they got to sit through this torturous, bad shit for an hour and a half.
Right.
And all of them are going to leave there going, I'm never coming to a comedy show again. Fuck live comedy, right?
I mean,
listen. If my first show was an open mic, and as a consumer, as an audience member, and I went through that, I'd be like, I'm never coming to a live comedy. Live comedy fucking sucks.
I mean, I would agree with you that sometimes open mics can be more entertaining than bringer shows.
And open mics to me are just, and I got this from Rob Santos. You don't go to open mics for the laughs. You don't go there for the audience. You don't go there. You go there just to get the words out. Yeah. That's all it is. You're working on new material. You want to get to the point where when you go and do a show, that joke you're saying is not the first time you've said that joke. It's not the first time those words have come out of your mouth. So you're that much more comfortable saying it, and you deliver it better than if it was your first time.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what you use open mics for. You're going to go to open mics, a lot of times you're going to see a ton of other comedians and probably no audience members. And we watch comedy differently. Some of us will laugh. I can watch comedians for a long time and be like, oh, she's funny, or he's hilarious, and not laugh.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, that was some good writing. That was so clever. Oh, the misdirection was great. Like I'm critiquing it, I'm like, wow, that was great. But I didn't laugh, and I forgot to laugh. Because I'm just enjoying it, and learning from it, right? So,
because as comics, we're always analyzing.
Right.
We're not there to be entertained. We're there to kind of digest it all. You know?
And we're there to learn. So we're learning from them. We're learning as we go on stage. We learn. So it's tough to do open mics. Open mics are just for that. Just get the words out. Don't lower your expectations on what's going to happen with the audience. Just keep them at the fucking floor. Go out there, get those words out. That way, when you're at a showcase or at a show, you're putting out something that's been out before, and you're more comfortable with it. But yeah, the bringer shows. Listen, I tell all the young comedians this: if it benefits you somehow, do the bringer show. If it benefits you, because it's already going to benefit the venue and the promoter. Mm-hmm. Their benefit, no doubt about it. And
I say if you're making money, fuck what anybody.
No, but
tells
it's
you,
okay. It's okay for them to benefit. That's okay, but do it for you. So whenever I did bringer shows, it was because I wanted something out of it. Mike Jacobs, my first bringer show was Mike Jacobs, and it was at Broadway.
Yeah.
And we had the room on top, and I was upset because he was like, everybody has to bring 4 people, whatever. I brought 35 people.
That was the last time I saw Mike Jacobs was at one of those upper rooms at Broadway.
I brought 35 people. No comedian brought anybody because my group. You know how small that room is.
I think that's where I seen you do your act. Maybe
I ended up closing that show because he saw so many people that was there for me. He was like, "You're closing." And after that show, he was like, "You never have to bring anybody to one of my shows again. If you want to do a show, just let me know." Because he knows people are gonna follow me. In New York, I got that's what my people I grew up with, people I worked with through my my adult life until 35. So I don't go there often. So when I go to New York, they'll come out and they'll see me because they haven't seen me in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. So they come out to see me, whether it be the Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan. They come out, not in Staten Island. They come out. Right? So so I love going back to New York and doing stuff. But again, I wanted to do a show in New York. That was my first comedy club in Manhattan. I did Mike Jacobs. I did a show at Caroline's, a bringer, because I hadn't been on Caroline's stage yet. Yeah. And that's an iconic stage. I want to be on Caroline's stage. If I have to do it as a bringer, I'm going to do it.
I've thought of doing that myself because I've always wanted to hit that stage.
Right. If it benefits you as a comedian, I don't care what stage you are in life or in comedy. If it benefits you, do it. Mm-hmm. But do it for you. Do it for whatever one little reason that it's going to do. So you can put it on your resume as a credit. I did this.
Well, that's actually a rule I have for myself that I won't do a bringer in New York unless it's a stage I've never done before.
Right. Gotham Comedy Club I haven't done yet. And as far in comedy as I am, like by almost 8 years now, I'd still do a bringer at Gotham.
Yeah.
I got friends that already go there. You know what I mean? I'm like, yo, guys, I'm gonna be there this night. I know I can get 30 people in there, easy.
Totally.
So why wouldn't I do it? It's just again, if it benefits me in some way, young comedians don't fall for there's gonna be writers from this show and this show. That's the show I avoid because those writers are thieves. Those writers will sit there in the club. They don't watch your show. They just sit there and record it.
Really?
And then they go back home and they listen to it. And if they find something good out of it, they sell that. And whether they sell it to a show or a comedian, they get paid. And the comedian or that show thinks it's a fresh joke from this writer. But it's your joke. And I have a situation where I think that happened to me once. It could be parallel thinking. I put it on YouTube, explaining how it could be parallel thinking, or it could be one of those shows that I did in New York, and they took this joke from me.
Yeah.
The joke I wrote about when
Carlos Mencia.
Yeah. when I was planning my wedding.
Right.
I did a joke about helping my wife out, and I'm stupid. I help my wife out. I said, "Babe, I'll do all the save the date cards. Right, I'll do it. Let me handle it for us. You're doing enough." And I sent them all out, and no one responded. Matter of fact, only one person responded saying they didn't want to come. And I'm like, who doesn't want to come to my fucking wedding? And then I realized I abbreviated save the date, so nobody wanted to come to an STD party. Right?
That's actually not bad. I like that one.
And so I did that, and like maybe a year or two later, I saw it on TV.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow.
I would say that one's probably parallel.
Yeah.
Just because it's like...
And I said that in the video. I said, this could be parallel thinking, but this also happens like this. So, think about it. I did it 2 years ago in New York.
You know what's weird? It's like once you notice those parallel thinking jokes, you'll realize that the joke wasn't even like that. I mean, that actually did make me laugh. But like one time, I actually posted something on YouTube that where I did something about like I don't like to use vapes because I feel like I'm sucking on a robot dick. Dave Attell, I saw Dave Attell do that joke live, and then I was like, what the fuck? But at the same time, I'm like, well, I mean, if it's like, but then it's like David Tell's also like a joke fucking machine where it's like he just keeps pumping out.
But that again, perspective, because now you look at it like, well, I'm in the lane of writing material that is good enough for Dave Attell to fucking use. You know what I mean? You got to feel good about yourself, like shit. I would look at it like that, like shit. I wrote this joke and Dave Attell's either he stole it because it was good, or he wrote it and we're writing the same shit. Like that's fucking good. I mean, I'm a bright side guy, right?
Totally. All right, Phil. We're actually going almost twice as long as we usually do that, bro. But is there anything you want to promote or put out there before we wrap it up?
Man, just I'm always looking for good comedians, just so that I have people that I can book. My problem is when it comes time to book people, I can't think of everybody.
Yeah.
And again, like you see me talking about some of my favorite comedians, and I can't remember their names. So imagine when I'm trying to book a comedian. Yeah. It's hard to remember everybody, even guys that I love and I work with all the time or I speak to all the time. It's just hard to remember everybody. And that's half the reason why I haven't booked a lot of people that know me,
Because you're going senile.
Because I'm fucking old as shit. So just, always interact with me if you can. Of female comedians, for me, it's harder to find you guys. Stronger female comedians. And so, I mean, just help each other, promote each other. Forget about promoting me. Promote each other, man. Let's just take this comedy thing and make it as strong as possible. We've had a tough year where we couldn't be in front of people, and we're getting to that point where we could be in front of people again. So let's push each other in front of as many people as we can.
Sounds good.
Not in front of cars or trains, in front of people.
Hey, keep me in mind for those fundraisers.
I will.
All right,
for sure.
All right. Thanks for being on the show, Phil.
Thank you, man. I had a good time.